I'm seeing a phone call. Maybe she's on the phone with us. All right, it is Wired Wednesday. Am I right about that, MJ?
Yes, it is. I'm hoping all of the technology things work today.
Well, so far, so good.
Oh, good. Good morning. Go ahead.
Okay, well, we just didn't know if you wanted to use the Zoom audio or be on the phone. It doesn't matter. We can do either one.
You tell me, are you guys hearing an echo on your end?
Right now, we're not.
Okay, let's just keep going like this. I am live streaming it on Facebook for Justin and Grady. We are with Northridge Construction today. Welcome to Wired Wednesday with McKinnon Hansen. I'm so excited to be here. I love days like this. The rain is incredible. It brings back the fall season, and how timely for September 1st, Tim.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is the way you want September to start.
Exactly. So we're really excited. We did a little snippet with Northridge Construction last week on Facebook, but I wanted to bring them on the air because they had some really valuable information. We went over why people are getting hail damage, how they're really getting hail damage, and what the hell is going on. I
see what you did there. What the hell is going on? I see it.
So Justin and Grady are sitting in the studio. I am homesick. Well, technically I'm in my office, but I am going home. I didn't want to bring any of my flu-like symptoms into the studio. So thank you for dealing with the technology today. I do appreciate it.
Wait. You don't think you got the
No. I think I just caught that 24-hour bug where it just, tears you apart for a minute and then you're fine.
Okay. Well, thanks for not sharing it with us.
Hey, I try to do my best.
Yeah.
So Justin and Grady, introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and why you're so passionate about making sure this community is protected through your products.
Sure. So my name's Justin. I own Northridge Roofing and Exteriors and Construction, as you call it sometimes. So prior to owning my own company in 2018, I did storm damage, traveled across about 15 different states, and then started my own company. I've been in Utah since 2001. And part of our passion is just helping customers when storms come through. A lot of people get fearful, confused about what's going on. You get companies coming in from out of town and they get scared and wonder what's going on. So we just educate them the best we can with their insurance, what their policy is, how the process works. And then once they get everything approved, then we go through our spiel on our products and why the high quality of products and workmanship that we offer. And so we've been working with a lot of customers in Enoch, and some of the parts of Cedar and Ashdown Forest got some hail damage on the 1st of August, and there was one on the 14th. They got flooding too, which was very unfortunate, but we just come through, educate them, and we've been working with about 50 different homeowners so far. And so best thing for us is to educate the community, and then so they're aware of what's going on.
And I'm Grady Marshall. I work with Justin. Been working with him for the last 4 years. We do the same thing. Like we talked before, we kind of just, when these storms roll through, we try to come through and help people with understanding their insurance lingo and just help people understand if they have damage and what damage they do have, and try to explain that process to them as clearly as possible so that they can make a good decision.
So with all of the hail damage and the unfortunate flooding that we've gone through in the community over the last 60 days, where would you guys say that real hail damage actually happened versus, and or let's take it back a step. How do I know my roof's just not old and was damaged, in some other incident? How do I know it's a specific hail damage loss?
Perfect. So roofs get old. The older the roof, the hail can damage it worse. We've been on several roofs where the roof's five years or newer. Those tend to hold up just because the roofs haven't been sitting in the sun and baking. So the roofs are soft to the asphalt. So those tend to stand up. It's the older ones that really take a beating. And so it's just best to get someone out there that knows what they're doing. We've been on some roofs that other contractors have said were damaged and weren't. And so it's just good to get that knowledge. So we don't want customers filing claims on non-damaged roofs, because then they get claim frequency, and that affects them. It affects the agency as well. And so we'd say, I bet you 80% of Enoch probably has hail damage on the roofs. And then some of the houses up in Ashdown Forest too, but there's a lot of newer roofs up there, so it's just a few, I'd say 20 or 30%.
Yeah, usually the up in Ashdown, it seems to be mostly some of the older houses because there's lots of new homes up there. Which we've checked quite a few, and those don't seem to be damaged in newer houses. A lot of those were built within the last, 6-7 years, it seems like, and those haven't had much damage on them whatsoever. But out in Enoch, pretty much every house we get on has pretty severe damage. Those roofs are just older out there, and they got beat up pretty bad. There's a few new homes out there that we've been on that don't have any damage, but again, it's just kind of that newer versus old shingle. The old shingles just take a beating, and the newer ones hold up really well when they're around that 5-6 year mark. They're usually okay. That's not always the case, but from our experience on this storm, that seems to be what's going on.
I was gonna say, Grady, will you please define like an older roof or a newer roof? Like, what's that time limit where traditional, I'm gonna use my words I learned last week from you guys, construction grade or contractor grade shingles? Maybe I might be messing this
Nope,
up, but contractor grade
you're
shingles,
pretty good.
how long
You're pretty
those
good.
last and what we need to be doing with them?
So basically, what we meant by that is, so let's talk about the age. What really defines an older roof? Like we say, roofs that are 5 years and newer are usually those are pretty new roofs, and they don't take damage, right? But when you start getting to the 8, 10 year, 15, 20 year range plus, those kind of roofs are really starting to get towards, when you get past 15-ish years, you're getting really past the halfway mark of the lifespan of the roof. Especially being out here where all the sun that we get, and a lot of the roofs out here don't have ventilation on them when they were first made, and so these roofs are actually aging pretty quick. And so when you're getting around the 8+ mark, you really should have the roof looked at, because it's going to be susceptible to hail damage. We talked about contractor grade shingles. What we were talking about were just shingles that they put on the roof when the houses were built. They're usually not the best shingles, and that doesn't mean that they won't hold up to their lifespan. It's just they seem to deteriorate pretty quick compared to other shingles in the class. So
if I have a lot of there's a more technical word for it, but the rocks that come off of my
That's the word.
granules.
granules, thank you. Dr. T, my brain is totally flaked out today. Gratefully, I'm not in the studio, but we're making a go of the show anyways. This is McKenna Hansen with Wired Wednesday. We're talking around with Justin and Grady from Northridge Roofing and Exteriors, and we're going into the types of shingles and the granules, and if you have damage just from excessive granules. So Grady or Justin, can you take us away on what we're really looking for as homeowners to even start to get a quote on whether or not we actually have hail damage or an indicator?
Perfect. So when the hail hit, a lot of people noticed a lot of granulars coming off their shingles through the downspouts in the ground. So that doesn't technically mean that they have hail damage, because newer shingles can lose granulars as well. So insurance companies want to see actual hail impacts on the shingles. And so it's good to get someone up there that can look at those. They usually want about 5 to 10 hail impacts in a 10-foot by 10-foot square on each slope of the roof. And so the granule loss doesn't necessarily mean that they have the hail damage, but that's an indicator, hey, I should get my roof checked out.
Exactly. I mean, you'll see more granules that are on the ground after hailstorm typically, and people usually point that out to us, the customers that we meet. But we have to find the damage is very specific that we're looking for. And sometimes the hail will make the granules come off the roof, and we still get up there and we know the roof was hit with hail, and we know that it made it lose granules, but that doesn't mean that we'll be able to find the specific damage that we need to have it covered by the insurance company. So that's why we still need to get up there and take a look. It's not something we can see from the ground. We actually have to get up and inspect the roof up close to see if the roof has the proper damage to be covered. So.
And notice, Dr. T, how they're coinciding with insurance. For what I sell, I sell Farm Bureau insurance.
Yeah,
They're
I did
saying
notice that.
they have to find specific damage for the claim to be even reviewed by adjusters. They don't try to make the damage to make sure that it's covered by the insurance. So what's really key in me working with this company and me working with Justin and Grady is that they have one of the highest integrity options of going out there and really evaluating your roof and going through what is needed, because their business depends on, just like my business depends on, the value added system. If we're going to lie to you, that doesn't make any sense, because then you're going to hurt our company, like those different things. So we are always trying to do the best thing that we can do for our clients. And so that's why I've really appreciated these kind of educational opportunities with Justin and Grady, because it really goes back and reinforces the quality system and making sure we are taking care of this community with quality products. And there's the value add in there as well, because you can't just go up on a roof and be like, oh, that's hail damage, when it could have been, I don't know, a softball or a baseball coming down because your kids were playing baseball in the yard or something.
Or an
But-
alien.
More than correct.
Yes.
Could have been an alien, yeah.
We've seen that one.
The other thing is there's specific damage, right? So when you go up on your roof, I don't suggest that for, everybody, but have a licensed contractor like Northridge Roofing and Exteriors to go up and look at those things, because they also look at the fixtures on your roof, like your vents.
Vents and other things like that. We take a look at everything while we're there. We're not just there to look for hail damage. We'll let you know even if you don't have damage, if you guys have anything else that's wrong with the roof as well, just so that you have an idea. We're here to be honest with our customers. Like you said, we appreciate you bringing us on here so that we can let people know kind of how the situation's been going with us, and so that people have better clarification. And just another thing, just so people know, a lot of times people try to file a claim if they want to contact their insurance company. A lot of the times the insurance company will ask them if they've had the roof looked at already before they even want to send an adjuster to the property, because they don't want a customer to file a claim if they don't have any damage. So usually they'll have the customer call a contractor, have the contractor come out and take a look for any damage prior to them actually finishing filing their claim. And so it's good to just have your roof looked at before you move forward with trying to file a claim. That way you're not going to file a claim on something that doesn't have any damage on it, because you don't want to have that claim frequency. You don't want to have that claim on your record. And that's why it's so important for us to mention that to people and to do honest assessments for the damage, because we don't know what someone's claim history is, and we don't want to have to add a claim to somebody's record for no reason. And so that's why we do those initial meetings and inspect for that damage.
Well, and even if it's a zero claim, it still comes up on your record as your attempt to make a house claim or a claim on your insurance policy. And so really having a good relationship with your insurance agent, so you can talk to them. Hey, do I make a claim or not? What do I need to do? My first line of defense is, have you had a contractor out there? Did you make those appropriate mitigation steps to make sure your house wasn't affected? Like with the flooding, were you sandbagging, like literal sandbagging, not like sandbagging anyways?
Gotcha.
Well, the other thing too is, so a lot of people are scared. We've knocked on doors, or been out. We sent out about 2,000 mailers, direct mailers, and so we get calls, and customers are scared to even. They're like, "Well, my roof's fine," because another contractor came by and they've been harassing them, so they get scared. So insurance companies will give you a certain amount of time to file a claim. So even if you think your roof's fine and the hail has impacted the roof, you could have leaks down the road. So we want to get an honest assessment of your roof, so you're not in the position of, okay, a year from now my roof's leaking and there was hail damage and I could have got that covered by my insurance. And so it just helps to have, like Grady said, someone out there that's knowledgeable with hail damage and to give an honest assessment.
Exactly.
Let's
want
go
to
back
catch
to
that
the-
before it happens. So
Well, and let's go back to your guys' experience. You haven't just witnessed Southern Utah hail, once in a lifetime kind of hail things. You've gone through where significant hail damage happens on a consistent basis, right, Justin?
Yeah, excuse me. So I've worked Colorado, Idaho, Nebraska, Iowa, California, every other states where the hail is about the biggest softballs. And so it's pretty impactful. So this hail here was only at the biggest, it was about 1.25 inches. Grady was actually out helping sandbag when the second storm came through, and he had a pile of hail in his hand. There were some pretty big chunks in there. So we don't see hail that big very often. I've worked other places where you see the windshield smashed in and it's like cannonballs came down from the sky.
yeah, actually.
Oh man, I'm grateful I live in Southern Utah. That's way too much for me.
So, yeah, I mean, we've seen some extreme hail damage in the past, which usually that's more of an obvious thing for people. They understand the hail was so large, I really should get my roof checked. It was extremely devastating. But in a situation like this where the hail wasn't quite as big and we're in a place where people don't experience hail very often here in Cedar, it's not something that anybody really thinks about. And that's why we're trying to basically bring awareness, because you do only have a certain amount of time to file that claim. And if you don't get your claim filed in that amount of time, and you don't get the roof fixed in a timely manner, then when we go down the road, let's say, 3 or 4 years from now, if your roof does start to leak, you might not be able to file a claim and have it fixed at that point because you waited too long. And that's why it's important for us to help these people move along as quick as we can get them to move. That way we can get everybody done in a timely manner.
I'm a little curious, maybe this is a question for you. How long do you have to make a claim on these things?
I was just gonna say, it goes into a timely reporting. So if you know that there's damage or you're unsure if it is or isn't covered, you typically have about 30 days. And if you don't report it in there, then they're like, well, why did it take you so long to report it? Are you like trying to get other things covered that wasn't covered? So there's series damage is what I'm going to call it. So an auto is the best way for me to relate this to a large population. But let's say you hit a rabbit going down the freeway and it damages some things, but it's not enough damage to take it into the auto body shop, right?
Right.
After 30 days, you now hit a deer. The deer damages the entire front end. You need a whole new rocker panel, front door, and front fender. They're only going to pay for what the deer damaged, not the rabbit, but they can't tell the difference between the rabbit and the deer. So they're only going to pay for a portion of the deer rather than the full deer because you chose not to get the rabbit fixed.
That's why it's important to get things reported when they happen.
Right. So it goes into the timeliness of the reporting. If you think that there's damage, if you think that you have hail damage or other things caused by these storms, Northridge can come out and look for you and make sure that you're in that same 30-day reporting window. So there's no doubt in the adjuster's mind that you are reporting this in a timely fashion. You're doing your best to mitigate further losses because that's your responsibility as a homeowner, and making sure that you're getting the repairs taken care of sooner rather than later because of the series of damages that could happen. Justin mentioned if my roof is leaking from the hail damage 6 months ago, then water damage isn't covered in that capacity because it's a natural flood type thing. Rain is a God incident rather than a hose spraying into your window well.
Correct, which we don't want anybody to be in that situation, right? Because we want to get the roof fixed. That way we don't have future flooding in the home that won't be covered. So.
Well, not to cause panic or anything, but some of the flooding, I'm thinking more of the flooding out at Sunset Canyon, but I don't know if hail is a problem out there, but they're getting close to that 30-day mark, aren't they?
Yes, and what's unfortunate is a lot of those homes were not sold or were not transferred of ownerships, knowing that that's a typical flood zone. I remember through the 90s and even early 2000s, that was a primary flood zone because all the water comes off the face through the drainage past Walmart and into that canyon. And as I was a little girl, I remember that being flooded out quite frequently. And then they put a subdivision there, and I would say none to very limited few have actual natural disaster flood insurance in those subdivisions, which breaks my heart. I don't want to be an ambulance chaser. I'm not going to go out and be like, oh, well, now you need a flood insurance policy. But those are things that we've talked about on the radio and making sure that we're keeping our community educated with that. We only have a couple minutes left. Justin and Grady, how do we get a hold of you? Kind of give us a really quick summary of why you do what you do.
So we're just here to help people. Like Enid's already been through flooding, and so it just helps to have someone there to kind of help with everything else. We know you guys have been through a lot, so we're just to service you. Customer service is our number one goal, followed by the highest quality materials we can put on our jobs. And so to get a hold of us, we're on Facebook. We're on Google. We have an office down in St. George, but we service all the way up to Beaver. You can call our number 435-817-3651. You can reach me there. And then if you want us to come out and do a free assessment, Or if you've already got your roof approved by insurance, we'll come out and show you the products we use and the systems, the roofing systems, and go from there.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
guys
Thank
so
you.
much.
Absolutely,
We-
appreciate it.
I look forward to working with you guys for years in the future. This has been McKinnon Hansen with Farm Bureau Financial Services. Thank you for listening and tuning into Wired Wednesday every Wednesday morning from 8:30 to 9.
Okay, and MJ, we're not being rude, but Craig's on the other line, so we're gonna have to end the phone call real quick.
No, yes, thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you next
Thank
week.
you.
That's gonna be it for Wired Wednesday here this morning on the KSB.